I have no idea what I just watched. So the Adam Sandler classic Happy Gilmore finally received its Hollywood-mandated legacy sequel, as is required by Hollywood law whenever a film maintains even the slightest amount of long-term relevance. In all seriousness, I actually really like this movie. Just like the first film, I thought it was light-hearted, silly, and full of Adam Sandler, just, essentially being Adam Sandler, which is almost all of his movies. I thought a lot of the jokes in this film actually held up really well, and I did laugh quite a few times during this film, which I wasn't really expecting, because Adam Sandler films aren't always laugh out loud funny. They're more like, okay, that's a dick joke kind of funny. And I think every performance in this film carried their weight, which is quite impressive considering how many people were actually in this film. All the celebrity cameos, but despite all of those cameos, the movie still had a coherent plot, and the scenes didn't feel messy. I mean, they did feel messy, but in a silly way rather than being genuinely confusing. But the thing I really appreciate was the seriousness and wholesome undertone that the movie had throughout. The only real criticism I had with the original was that it almost seemed to lack depth, because it was just a balls to the wall meme fest, and it was almost too silly. But I think this movie really fleshes out Happy's character more. In the first film, he plays golf to make money for his grandmother, which is a very emotional, touching, motivation for a character, and makes him very likeable. One of the reasons why he's so likeable. And in the sequel, the motivations are equally empathetic, and Happy's ultimately the same character. However, he's matured slightly. He returns to golf in order to make money for his daughter so she can live her dreams, studying ballet in Paris. I feel like this time round, Happy does seem a lot more emotional in this film, again, probably due to that maturity. I'm not sure if it's down to the expectations of more modern audiences, or whether it's just, Adam Sandler maturing as a man and an actor. Which I'm sure is also helped by the fact that his daughter in the film is his real-life daughter as well, which I think adds emotional stakes to the film, and is probably why his performance is a bit more emotional, because it's actually his daughter. There is also the added mental weight for Happy of the death of his wife, which he, accidentally causes. Now, her death was played as a gag, and only gets like a couple seconds, but it does actually hold quite significant weight to the story, which further drives the story ultimately, which makes Happy respect the game more. He respects the game, and he respects the decorum of golf a lot more than he did when he was a younger man in the first film. And that's really nice. I actually really liked all of the performances in this movie. I think the sons were hilarious and perfectly cast. I think they all worked really well together. Every scene they were in was elevated because they were in it. Adam Sandler was just, classic Adam Sandler. I mean, he's been Happy Gilmore basically his whole life. It's just a louder version of Adam Sandler. So he was always born to play that role. Margaret Qualley was in the film, so I already knew it was going to be a must-watch for me, because obviously I think she's an amazing actress. That's the reason. And I think all the celebrity cameos were great. I thought Eminem was a really funny cameo. Eric Andre was good. I liked all the golf pros that they had in it, and they were really. You could tell they were really enjoying being a part of the film. So I thought all in all it was just a really funny film. And a film of this magnitude, and this scale only really works if everyone commits 100%, and, thankfully everyone did. But the absolute highlight of this film was Christopher McDonald, who was absolutely hilarious as Shooter McGavin. In the first film, he was the main antagonist. He was the sort of cocky pro golfer who doesn't like the raggy, lovable nature of Happy, because he thinks he feels like it's a disrespect towards the sport of golf. But in this film, they team up against the new protagonist, and him and Happy on the same side is really a great dichotomy. I think this version of Shooter is far funnier than he was in the first film, and that's in large part due to just how much fun McDonald was having in the role. You can tell. I mean, he's just insane in every scene. He's just constantly acting like an absolute nut job, and you can tell he's enjoying it, and we enjoy it as well. We enjoy when actors are having fun. Every scene he is in is so energetic and vibrant, and he just bounces off everyone so well, especially Happy's character. I think the plot was very well adapted for the modern era, because it's all about technology and the evolution of things and people getting older, which is a story that I'm sure Adam Sandler can relate to. And the story perfectly matches the silly tone of the original film. In fact, this film's story is perhaps even more silly than the first film's, as impressive as that is. I think this film has something that a lot of legacy sequels miss, and that's a unique perspective. A lot of legacy sequels attempt to just retell the same story with slightly different characters, but the story in this film, while superficially similar, the motivation and emotion behind it is very different, which is why I appreciate it so much, I think. It would have been too predictable to make Shooter McGavin the antagonist again, and I appreciate that they didn't, and that they created a new villain, one that was very relevant in today's age, where everything is out with the old and, you know, in with the new. I think since watching this and rewatching the original, I think I ranked Happy Gilmore too low in my Adam Sandler ranked video. I ranked it below quite a few films, and this film really is a classic, I can't lie. It seems to be one of the big inspirations for a lot more modern comedies, and really helped Adam Sandler to sort of stamp his style into like Hollywood. Like Happy Gilmore was sort of the film that made Adam Sandler almost a genre. He transcended an actor and became almost a genre. And you can tell that this has had an impact on lots of more modern comedies. And I think this film, whilst not as good as the original, should be considered one of Adam Sandler's better films. I mean, he's made a lot of pretty bad ones, but this is definitely in the upper echelon of his filmography. And it's good to see that as time has gone on, Adam Sandler's filmography has got better, not worse, which is tough to do, as we've seen from numerous other actors. You know, it's not easy to keep the energy high as he does. I feel like this was Adam Sandler and Hollywood testing the waters to see if these old titles still have pull in cinemas. And now that we've seen that they do, I'm expecting a couple more familiar names to make a return. You know, Grown Ups was one of his most successful films, both culturally and commercially. So I'd be surprised if they make a third, and maybe I could even see them making a modern version of something like a 50 First Dates, because, you know, that was always a heartwarming story, and him and Drew Barrymore were always great together. Not so much in Blended, that film was kind of boring, but I think the story in 50 First Dates was really good. Anyway, I want to know what you guys thought of this film. Did you like it? Did you not? Not everyone's the biggest fan of Adam Sandler. You can be a bit hit or miss, but I really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below how you felt, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.